right now, Bitcoin is setting up for a massive move, and you don't want to miss this next move right now, since we have an interesting signal actually playing out in the market. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over this chart over here, and I'm going to be looking at a lot of different scenarios also that's actually happening in the market, and we're going to be seeing what's likely to be happening next. Not only am I going to be talking about Bitcoin, but I'm also going to be looking at Ethereum, and we're going to be seeing what's happening here. So with that being said, let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight away in towards this banger. Bow. So looking at this chart on the 3-day time frame, we can see that Bitcoin plotted against the RSI is essentially creating an interesting divergence. And every time that we've actually created this divergence, we've seen a major move towards the upside. So right now, Bitcoin is actually forming a bullish divergence shown by the RSI making a higher low when the price is making a lower low, indicating that there's more strength in the market than what the market is letting on. And essentially, this means that we're going to be following up with a very, very bullish move very soon, which can be in the form of a relief rally, since Bitcoin ever since the start of October has been trending towards the downside very steeply, and it's likely that at this point we're going to be getting some sort of a relief very soon. But of course, in the short term, Bitcoin is starting to move towards the downside. So we need to be talking about if we're going to be sweeping a low first before we actually get that push towards the upside. We need to be exactly discovering that scenario. But on the high time frame, we are creating a market maker sell model. So of course, we may get a relief rally, but this relief rally may only go up towards the 100k level, and then that's where potentially we may top out for the cycle. And of course, we can look in towards this chart over here, showing by the 50-week moving averages on different years. And of course, this scenario has been actually shown in previous bull markets. So every time you can see that we've lost the 50-week moving average, we've actually moved towards the downside, retested it before actually entering a bear market. You can see over here we got that retest as well, and in 2014 we actually got a quick retest before entering a bear market. And it's likely that when we test the 50-week moving average, we're going to be topping out, and that's why we're going to be moving towards the downside. So of course, we can still be in this market maker sell model if we get a relief rally, and then that's why we're going to be topping out once we actually retest the interesting moving average. But of course, Bitcoin is still above this massive 70k support level, and if we do come down first before we move towards the upside, then of course this will be an interesting level to be buying up the dip. But in the short term right now, it looks like we're having some bullish divergence, so that relief rally may actually come before we actually test our support level. Last week we did see the Bank of Japan actually hiking interest rates, and every time they've done this in the following weeks, we've seen downward pressure for Bitcoin. So it's interesting, and there's one thing that we need to be watching if we're going to be getting a downside pressure. But of course, the Bank of Japan's interest rate hike was massively priced in already, so it's likely that we've already formed the bottom, and this bullish divergence is going to be playing out towards the top side, and we're going to be moving higher. So that's one interesting thing to be watching. And of course, we're in this consolidation pattern right now. So once we do get a breakout of the downside, then of course we can actually look at the lows being swept before we move towards the upside again. But if we actually start to break towards the upside now, then we have a lot of liquidity to be grabbing on the top side also. So looking at the liquidation heat map, we have a little bit of liquidity below us, but the majority is still above us, above the 90k region and in towards that 95k region. So of course, it's likely that if we can start to get a bounce now, that's where the price is going to be heading, where the majority of liquidity is. But of course, you can see that we're testing this mid-range now, we're starting to lose it. So if we continue to actually lose this mid-range, then it's likely we can come towards the downside and test the bottom side of the range. But of course, we still have this bullish divergence on the 3-day time frame that's potentially going to be playing out. And if you're looking towards this chart over here, you can see after Christmas Day, typically we do see a little bit of sell pressure. But of course, for the rest of the month in towards the next year, we see bullish price action, and we see Bitcoin actually bounce a lot, and we have been dumping already. So of course, it is likely that we are already seeing a bottom, and we're going to be seeing some relief rally coming in very soon. So of course, if Bitcoin can actually hold this mid-range and this forms as a higher low, and we start to reclaim this weekly open, and then we actually move towards a monthly open and hold that, then it's likely that we're going to be putting in a relief rally, and this is going to be some sort of a bottom. So if you're watching the video and you want to be trading for yourself, make sure to click that first link down below for LBank. LBank's offering the community a 50% deposit bonus, and you can see you can get $10 as soon as you KYC. So of course, that's a massive deal on the table, and you can see you can get an extra $200 completing different trading tasks. So this is a massive opportunity to be getting a 50% deposit bonus, and of course a few extra USDT for different tasks. So make sure to be clicking that first link down below for LBank. And of course, if you want to be joining my free community where I've already put a trade in there for the week and some weekly analysis, make sure to click that second link down below for my free Telegram group, and I'll be seeing you guys in there with new analysis and some trades, and of course some market alpha. Now looking at USDT dominance, it looks like we're repeating history and we're likely to enter a bear market very soon. But of course, we're in this red box zone where we're below significant resistance, and it's likely that if we chop around here, we can get a relief rally before we enter a bear market, just like last cycle. So right now, USDT dominance is actually starting to look like it's ready to break the zone, but if it starts to pull back and move towards the downside, we are going to be getting that relief rally. But the longer the stochastic stays in the overbought region, the higher USDT dominance is going to go, and the more likely it is that we're going to be moving heavily towards the downside, and we're going to be testing this major support level. But in a high time frame, it is possible we can get a relief rally, but just like I said, the market maker sell model can still hold, and we still can move towards the downside since the MACD is actually bearish, and we've had the bearish cross already. And of course, you can see the last time we had the bearish cross, we did have a relief rally first, but of course the histogram continues to print red bars, and of course we started to move towards the downside and towards a bear market. So that's the same thing that can happen this cycle also. You can see as well, we're heading into a midterm year, and typically this is a massive bearish year. So of course the trend can continue, and we can see a massive move towards the downside next year for 2026. And of course, we have a target at the 200-week moving average and a 300-week moving average. So this is one thing to be keeping in mind also. As for Ethereum, you can see that we actually bounced from this major support level again in the short term, creating a double bottom. But right now we're starting to roll over shortly, and we're starting to chop around since Bitcoin is pulling back just a little bit after that GDP data that we just had. But of course, if we start to see Ethereum bounce in towards a relief rally, we have quite a lot of liquidity to be grabbing towards the top side. So it's likely we can get a major bounce towards the 4,000 level, where potentially that's where we're going to be topping for the cycle. So of course, that's one thing to be watching for. But if we start to break this support level around 2,600, it's going to be likely Ethereum is going to be moving further towards the downside. And of course, on the weekly time frame, we're yet to close a candle above the 50-week moving average. So we need to be breaking above there and holding to actually see a broader relief rally in towards that bull market support band, where potentially we can be moving down. But if we actually sweep the lows first and we play out this scenario, I'm looking at this level over here, so below 2,500, and that goes all the way up until 2,250. That's going to be an interesting support level for Ethereum to actually be bouncing from before we get a relief rally, and then that's where maybe we'll top for the cycle. But of course, there's not much analysis I can do on Ethereum. You know, we have this chart over here, but it looks like Bitcoin is a cleaner pair to be actually charting, since we have a lot of different data points and a lot of different charts to be looking at for Bitcoin. So of course, if Bitcoin is actually bearish and we actually start to break down from this consolidation pattern, then it's likely that, of course, Ethereum is going to be breaking down also. But if we start to break out from this consolidation pattern, we move towards the top side, then it's likely Ethereum reclaims this moving average, and we're moving towards the next resistance band, which is going to be the bull market support band over here. But yeah, that'll be it for me. Make sure to be following me on X to be staying up to date with all my updates here, and I'll be seeing you guys there in the next one. Have a blessed rest of your day. Peace, guys. See ya. Bye-bye.